Yo, what's good? It's your boy Zirk. So Mike did an interview with Jesse James West about body dysmorphia and bodybuilding. And these dudes just casually admitted some of the most depressing shit I've ever heard. Then acted like it was normal. I'm talking about grown men explaining why they'll never be satisfied with how they look, why the sport makes them miserable, why steroids messes with their heads, and then being like, but yeah, it's great, love the journey. Let me break down this conversation for you, because it's wild.
The day I began my fitness journey when I was 15 years old is the day that I decided I will never be happy with the way I look. Basically, ever. Every single year I would gain muscle, but it was never enough. I always wanted more, and then I'd gain more muscle, and it was still not enough. It was a never-ending cycle, and it drove me insane for years.
First, Jesse James West, young dude, jacked, millions of followers, living the dream, drops this bomb. Bro just casually said, I've been miserable about my body for my entire adult life, and it will never end. Then, Dr. Mike, man's got a PhD in sadness, jumps in like, yeah, you can't even see yourself on stage. You're just surrounded by huge dudes thinking you look small. So bodybuilding is just sad Tinder for men. Everybody half naked, oiled up.
Competitor, do you have body dysmorphia?
Do I have elements of dealing with my body image in a certain way that's maybe a little bit unique and maybe not the average person? Definitely.
Do steroids cause body dysmorphia?
Steroids, in some cases, can increase the expression magnitude and probability of body dysmorphia. There are a couple of mechanisms I can talk about, if that's okay, as to how that might happen.
Yeah, I'd love to know.
One of them is when you start using steroids, you typically don't use it in isolation. You're kind of in a gym culture, is just to fit into that new band of gym bro friends that they have or competitor friends. And then you're like a little fish in a big pond.
Now let's talk about steroids, because Mike got real about this too. He said steroids can make body dysmorphia worse in a couple ways. First, when you start using gear, you're usually doing it because you're around other people using gear. So now you're comparing yourself to enhanced athletes. You're a little fish in a big pond of other juiced up dudes. Second, when you come off steroids, you look worse than when you were on them. Obviously, right? That's how drugs work. But Mike pointed out that creates a problem. Because when you're on high doses, you look amazing. You love how you look. But you can't stay on high doses forever unless you want to clock out real early.
Another mechanism by which body dysmorphia can get exacerbated with steroid use, they can 100% give you a new standard. And you love that standard, but you can't be on high doses all the time unless you want to, clock out real early. And so when you come down off of steroids to smaller doses, your body's going to look not as good as it could. I'm actually in the process right now of kind of unfolding my bodybuilding career. I've just competed recently, probably my last competition for some time. I'm about to get significantly smaller. That's going to hit me, bro. It's going to hit me 100%.
So you come down to lower doses or cruise doses, and suddenly you look smaller, not as full, not as impressive. And your brain remembers what you look like on the high dose. So now you feel like shit, even though you still look better than 99% of people. Mike said he's dealing with this right now. So even Dr. Mike, the guy with the PhD, even he can't escape feeling like shit when he comes off. And he even said, you can't stay on high doses unless you want to clock out real early.
But the problem with bodybuilding competition is that you actually can't see your body at all when you're pumping up, when you're standing in line, and when you're on stage. You see other people's, and everyone looks really impressive. And a lot of times you don't have an understanding of how impressive you look because you just haven't seen yourself for that long in your best shape because you've never been in your best shape before. And you look at these other guys and you're like, man, this guy's going to toast me. And that might be true, or it might not be true. And so if some people that are a bit more negatively tinted, they can take that negative tint and get a lot more self-doubt and kind of anxiety about, oh boy, is this really going to come together for me? Whereas other people, it's this beautiful journey of like, man, my body's changing every other day. I love it. To be completely honest, the people that see it more positively and experience it more positively are the best bodybuilders in the world, and they just love the sport. And that's how you do bodybuilding.
Now, Mike did say something interesting. He said the people who handle this the best, who see it positively, who love the journey of their body changing, those are the best bodybuilders in the world. And I think that's true. But you know what that also means? It means everyone else who tries bodybuilding and doesn't have that magical positive mindset is going to suffer. Most people aren't genetically gifted. Most people don't have perfect psychology. Most people are just regular dudes who want to look good. And if you take regular dudes and put them in a sport that requires constantly comparing yourself to enhanced genetic freaks, you're creating an army of miserable people with body dysmorphia.
So what can we do to fight these internal battles then?
I developed a little nickname for this sort of thing. We call it time in the sun. That if you can really absorb your time in the sun, really have a lot of positive self-talk and affirmation about how much your body's changing and how great it is and how much you like it, at some point it's going to sink in until people are like, hey, like, do you hate your body even when it's out of shape? You're like, it's all right. I know I'd always get it back into shape. And I think I look cool. I think that's a thing a lot of people can pull off.
Wow. Soak in the sun. I love that.
The funniest part of this whole interview is when they try to give advice on how to deal with it. Mike says you gotta soak in the sun. That's his nickname for really absorbing the positive moments, having positive self-talk, appreciating how your body's changing. And look, that's nice advice. But they just spent 5 minutes explaining why that's almost impossible to do in bodybuilding. You can't not worry about looking worse tomorrow when your entire sport is based on looking better than you did yesterday. You can't have positive self-talk when you're backstage at a show surrounded by dudes on more gear than you. You can't soak in the sun when you're physique deflating faster than a bouncy castle after a kid's birthday, and you definitely can't have a beer when your macro's out here looking like a prison sentence. The advice contradicts the reality they just described. Here's what's really going on. And I think Mike and Jesse both know this. They just can't say it directly. Bodybuilding at a competitive level is not healthy, mentally or physically. It requires you to be dissatisfied with yourself constantly. That's the fuel. If you were satisfied, you'd stop pushing. It requires drugs that fuck with your hormones. It requires extreme dieting that makes you miserable for months at a time. And at the end of all that suffering, you stand on stage for 2 minutes, then go back to normal life where you slowly lose the physique you worked so hard for. That's the sport. Now, I'm not saying don't lift weights. I'm not saying don't try to look good. I'm not even saying don't compete if that's what you really want. But let's be honest about what it is. If you're a regular person who just wants to be in shape and feel good, competitive bodybuilding ain't for you because the cost is too high. And most people can't pay that price without it fucking you up. So here's my take. If you want to lift weights and look good, do it. Get strong, get lean, feel good about yourself. That's good. But if you're thinking about competitive bodybuilding, really ask yourself if you can handle it. Can you take drugs that will make you look great temporarily, then feel like shit when you come off? If the answer is no, then maybe just stay a gym bro. Lift for fun. Look good for yourself. I'm Zirk. Stay real, stay jacked, and soak in some damn sun, but like metaphorically, not the tanning bed version.